Hello guys, in this video I would like to talk about useState, useReducer hooks in React. So what is useState versus useReducer? There are few scenarios I would like to explain about that and useState and useReducer. The first scenario is type of state, number, string, boolean, and if you're coming back to useReducer, then array or object. Okay, those are all the type of the state and the number of state transitions. Use state in one or two number of state transitions. If you're coming back to in use reducer, too many number of state transitions. Related state transitions, use state there is no related state transitions, and use reducer have the related state transition. Business logic, if you're coming back to your business logic, use state is no business logic and use reducer have the complex business. Local versus in global state, and use state is the local state, and if you're coming back to use reducer is the global state. What is the main difference between the use state and use reducer? Use state and use reducer are both state management hooks provided by React, but they have different use cases and characteristics. Use state is simpler and more straightforward for managing simple state within components, whereas use reducer is more powerful and flexible, especially for managing and complex state logic and state transitions, and it can be used as an alternative to Redux for state management in React applications. So and the hooks is mostly is used for if you have in very simple and straightforward projects, and you can use the hooks like in use reducer, use state, and use context for the state management. Or if you have in more complex projects like in using an alternative for the Redux, and as I mentioned over here, Redux is the more complex projects and Redux state management, use those things. While use state is suitable for the most state management needs, use reducer becomes more beneficial as your state management logic grows in complexity. So coming in use state, purpose of use state is built in React hook is used for managing state. As I said, in simple state management is not that much complex management, and it's especially this one is using in functional component for the state management. It allows you to add stateful logic into functional components without using the class comp. That's the purpose they introduced. And coming back to what is the usage? The usage, you can use useState to declare a state variable and a function to update that variable. Each call to useState returns a pair the current state value, and the function lets you update it. What does it mean? And I'm going to show you in Visual Studio Code what does it mean of the usage. And it uses the simple JavaScript data types. Those are the string, number, null, undefined, array, object, and boolean, and etc. What is the simple state management? Use state is suitable for the managing simple state that can be represented by primitive values or objects. Let's go and have a look in Visual Studio Code, guys, for the use state specifically. Simple state management, how I done it in here. If I'm going back, there are two I took it in. This is for complex state and the simple state. Complex state is for the use reducer and the simple state for the use state. So here I noted down all the number first use states and the number, string, boolean, array, object, null, undefined. So first one is the number constant. It will take the two array in the array two values. One is for the count, another one is the dispatch that count. So the value is the count here. I took the value, initial value, and then the set count, you can set it the value, and you can dispatch that particular value, what you are going to pass it that action. So using the use state and pass the number or here 0, 1, 2, 3. So in then coming back to in return JSX element, in this JSX element, how I'm using this count and use set count. So how I set it that value. So here I'm taking this a p element. In this p element, I'm taking the count and that calling the count the first number, and then what I am done here in the on click event, in this on click event I'm setting that count. Initial value is the count is going to take the 0, this count plus 1. I'm incrementing the all the time in when I'm clicking this button, increment button. That's what I took it in the value. So here the increment, the value is incrementing. So let's go and have a look in the browser. So in this browser here, if I'm clicking an increment, so is this value is got increment all the time. See guys, it got is incremented. The same way, coming back to in the string, so if you have a name, if you want to set the name, I'm taking the string, you can take the use state as a string. Again, you can set that value and the dispatch action, and then it will go to dispatch that particular action name. So boolean is also same. If you have any if conditions, if you want to write in either set the particular value, if you want to execute that condition, should use the use state and either true or false. You can based on that one. And array, you can pass the all, or I'm passing a single value guys, is not taking the complex state. That's what I'm passing in a single value in the use state. Set array and object, if you're taking an object in set object, and the object is taking null value and set null value, you're taking the use state and null, and use def is the set udef and your undefined. So these are all, this is more than enough for the use state guys, and I hope you understand about this one. Let's go on to discuss about the useReducer now. Let's go in presentation again. So here you go for useReducer. Yeah, go for the useReducer. So the useReducer is the built-in React hook used for managing in more complex state logic and state transitions, as I said. And it is inspired by Redux libraries reducer pattern. Yes, it is inspired by Redux guys. So Redux is also is very complex state transitions and complex state logic. We are writing in the Redux, and the top level you're using in the component level, and then you can use it in throughout your component hierarchy. So the same way useReducer also you can use it. Usage. useReducer accepts a reducer function and an initial state. Yes, it will go to take an initial state and returning the current state and dispatch the action. Yeah, you taking the current state and dispatch the action. I will go to show you guys what is the current state, what is the dispatch action. The dispatch function is used to trigger state transition based on the defined action. Yes. So complex state management is useReducer suitable for the managing complex state for that requires multiple state transitions and action. Let's go and have a look into that as well, guys. And in my Visual Studio Code, go to the one. Let me open this complex state, and once I will explain this one, and then you can go for it. So here, see guys, I'm taking initial state. In this initial state, I'm declaring the current state and the action. What is the action is going to happen? In this reducer, I'm going to call it in this is the current state, and this is the dispatch action. useReducer is accept the two parameters. One is the reducer, whatever the reducer you're writing here, and the initial state, whatever the initial state you're declaring. That is the accepting, and it will take the two parameters as well, the state and the current state as well as the dispatch action. Current state is the 0 or whatever it is there. The current state, the increment value, that one is the current state, and dispatch the particular action. What action you are going to dispatch? In the increment is one action, decrement is another action, reset is the another action. So reducer function, what it is, I am writing in over here, state is the count number, and the action, what is the type of the action. Just in the switch, the action dot type, what is the action dot type is taking, and then that is the action. This is the type guys, and whatever you're passing in dispatch action, the type in increment. And just you can, once it is going to check, once I'm hitting this JSX element, dispatch action or click event, it will come in over here. Action dot type is going to check is increment or decrement or reset. Based on that, this function is working. So coming back to JSX element, I would like to explain over here. See guys, in here I took it in first one is already I explained about the useReducer, and just in JSX element is taking the button on click event. I'm passing the dispatch action, and I'm taking the dispatch action here, the state, and as I told you guys, in first is the current state, right? And state.count is initially 0. So I took it this value, and then I'm taking an on click event dispatch action. That dispatch action type is increment. Once I'm hitting that increment, it will come over here, and it will go to, and the cases will go to check in over here, and based on that increment is there, and return count plus 1 is increment. And if same like in decrement, and say is coming here, and it will go to decrement the value. And if it is coming in reset, it will go to reset the initial value, whatever the initial value is count 0. And if it is so nothing is there, is going to default by default throw the new error. So that the error is coming up. So let's go and have a look into this. comment out this piece of, yeah, look here. Yeah, here see guys, and here we are getting the increment, decrement, and reset. So increment, if it's coming, increment the value. Decrement is going to decrement the value. If I'm resetting, initial state is coming up. So that's all guys for the use reducer. I hope you understand something else about this use reducer and use state. Thank you guys for watching this video. We'll catch up in another.